is your approach typically to counseling? What is your philosophy when it comes to counseling someone?
My approach to counseling is first and foremost to create a space that is safe and trusting for someone to be able to explore who they are, their history, their beliefs, where they want to go, what they see for themselves. So there's certainly goal setting, there's looking at where they want to travel, but it's also looking at their stories and being with them in their stories. An example, in working with a widow who has lost a spouse after 30 years of marriage and comes to me, needs that time to just have those feelings. And sometimes friends and families get worn down, and especially get feeling desperate to fix grief. And grief can't be fixed. Grief has to be traveled through. So just to be there, to allow those feelings to kind of normalize them, so to speak, and to be with that client in those feelings, so that there's a holding, and that I bring a calm and steady presence. So it's all about the relationship, and that's what I really hope to bring. We do things like doing some meditation, doing some breathing exercises, all things that help in de-stressing in whatever the issue is, again, to bring clarity.
So it sounds like some of your techniques are unique to you as opposed to some other counseling practices. Are there any other unique approaches that you have that set you apart from other counselors?
I think that finding a right fit for a client is very important. I offer a free client consultation so that someone can come in, we can meet each other, we can talk, they can ask me any questions that they would like to about counseling practice and what it might be like. And through that time together, finding that comfort level, because we are building a partnership where, I'm guide and supporter with their healing and finding, again, where they want to be. So it's very unique, actually, for each and every counselor, for someone to find what fits, where you just really feel, I'm heard. Everyone wants to be heard.
Yeah. So what are some of the signals that people might feel within themselves that's telling them that maybe it's time for counseling? How do they know when it's time for counseling?
I think it is becoming aware of being at the end of that comfort zone, that the status quo no longer works. Very often we do adopt a lot of coping skills that help us at certain times, certain stages of our development when we need them. But then they sometimes become outmoded, and they're not helpful. Right. So it's really saying, I'm feeling lost, I'm feeling overwhelmed, and what I may be dependent on before is not working for me. I need another voice.
I can't do this alone anymore.
Yeah, I can't do it alone anymore. And that's so important.
So what other type of counseling services do you offer?
Well, I offer individual sessions for women in transition, and those transitions might include career transition, aging, retirement, divorce, separation, and grieving, also recovery issues. I also have available, upon request, and if I have enough to fill a group sessions. And so that's what I offer to clients. I usually meet with clients once a week. Sometimes after a time of therapy, if we're at a point where the therapy shows that a client is ready to do with a little less, we can go to every other week. And sometimes at the end of therapy, clients might still want to have a once a month check-in, just for that added support.
So is there a typical or average length of time that someone might be in counseling? I'm sure it differs for everyone.
It does differ for everyone. And that's part of the relationship that I've been talking about, that it's part of what I discuss with clients. And we talk about it, and we talk about what they feel their readiness is, and what I'm feeling their readiness is, or I might be able to raise some points to them in terms of, well, gee, have you thought of this or that? Sometimes in the case of, say, I'll go back to the widow that I was talking about, and that feeling that, the first waves of grief had, gotten a little bit less and a little bit more of a return to life, but not quite entering back into life, and thinking, well, maybe it's time to come less or not come as often, and then realizing, well, I'm in a different stage where, can I allow some of the joys of life that I previously had? Does this make me feel disloyal to my spouse who's died? Is it okay? Is it okay to laugh again, to be happy again? And that's, having someone to discuss that is very, very important, because there are ongoing issues in loss, and that happens in divorce too.
Sure.
Lots of different issues of trying to find what is that new life.
So how does a person know, or maybe you know as their counselor, when they're ready to end their counseling sessions? What are some of those signs that you look for?
Yeah, I think some of the signs are an inner comfort and a feeling of wholeness and groundedness in what they're doing, and how they're feeling a whole life balance to navigate